So one of the new popular trends that we're getting right now is front yard gathering areas where people can just kind of sit in their chairs and wave to the neighbors across the street and engage in conversation and be a little bit more engaged with the world. So it seemed like an ideal situation to maybe just kind of put something very cool in here. So as far as the plants go under here, because there's so much shade, it kind of created an interesting challenge through here. But thankfully, when you're dealing with shade gardens, you can do a lot with like hostas, Japanese forest grass, coral bells, Japanese maples. There's so many things that you can do to make it colorful, and it actually works really well with the modern design. So, you know, when we had like more of a focus on foliage color and variegation and just things that are interesting, that's what we did through here. And then we got some water features from Botanicals over in Sandy. This is something that they kind of specialize in, are these pots and the water features in here to kind of give you a certain ambiance in here to make it really kind of calm and serene. It's really kind of a cool thing. So this area has some unique things in it. We have like an autumn moon, full moon maple. Its Latin name escapes me at the moment because it's half Japanese and I can never remember those. It's an Acer shirwansanium or something like that. But it is an absolutely gorgeous tree when it first leaves out in the spring. It'll have like orange and red tips for its new growth, and then it fades to like a lime green to a dark green on the inside. It is absolutely gorgeous. And then in here, we're just gonna let it fill in with Japanese forest grass. That's more of like the lime yellow that's in here. The variety that we used was actually Sunfire, which actually will throw out little blades of red every once in a while, which is really kind of neat. And in the background over here, this is called Carrot. It's ice dance, I believe is what it is. It's also known as a sedge. It'll also just kind of take over in this area. And the way that we're going to try to keep these from intermingling too much is that we actually have metal edging dividing the two varieties of grass. So it should keep a nice clean edge throughout all of this as it kind of grows in over the next like 2 or 3 years. So really kind of a cool area. And then we did some sculptural pieces. These are pencil point junipers. So they only get about 4 feet tall, grow very, very slowly, and they stay in this really tight conical shape. Really kind of cool. So they're just kind of like a little bit of a feature piece, I guess that I would suppose, that just kind of like throws off a different texture and is really kind of neat. One of the things that struck me about this house was there's just the sheer size of this huge wall right here. Like I'm 6'3" and this thing's probably about 50 feet tall. And I was like, oh wow, what can we do to kind of like, accentuate this wall or, put something in front of it to kind of like, create like a showpiece. And I had all sorts of ideas. And then we already had this pathway that was right here, which only gave me about 2 feet of space between this wall and the concrete that's right here. Now, this wall faces west, and one of the challenges that you have with structures like this is that they absorb heat during the day and radiate it at night, which makes it very hard for plants. And only having about 2 feet here, I don't have a whole lot of options of what I can use for plant material that will take the radiating heat from the wall and only get about 2 to 3 feet wide. That's all that I have here. So what we ended up doing is the laced up elderberry. It's a selection by proven winners, and it's actually one of my favorites for this type of situation because it gives you some incredible foliage color and texture, a little bit with blossoms in the early spring, but they're very, very short-lived. And they get like 10 to 15 feet tall and about only maybe 3 to 4 feet wide. And that they don't mind the heat that comes off of these walls a whole lot. So they actually grow just fine. So I was really kind of excited at the prospect of actually being able to have something kind of grow up this wall, not make it so huge. And then it would just show off these Pennisetums right here. These are called Lumen Gold. These are more of a chartreuse, lime yellow type color. And the play of the color off of all of these, I think will end up being really cool. We have some Mexican pebbles in here. This is a really cool blue type stone in between the pavers, which looks really cool when you get it all together. So here, in the next couple of years, this is just going to be an awesome kaleidoscope of color. And then here along the entryway, we did a couple of things. So these are a Dobbs frosted juniper on a standard. These will do, and by a standard I mean it's kind of grafted up high onto a trunk. And this is actually more of a creeping juniper. So what it'll end up doing is coming out and then coming down and kind of sprawling along the ground a little bit. And these typically have like a lot more of like a yellow color to them. It's a really cool kind of variegation with the juniper. It's something you don't see very often. And it has a really cool texture. And it's going to play off nicely with the blue here off of the Siskiyou blue fescue that's right here. Along this other entryway, we continued the theme of the fescues. And then we added a really cool structural wrap. This is another Miscanthus. This one is called Gold Bar. It has a little gold variegation that runs horizontal. It's going to get probably about 4 feet tall, probably about. One of the first challenges that we had with this yard is that we have a varying amount of landscapes and styles around here, and this house is so strikingly different from the other houses here. It created kind of like a little bit of a challenge to try to get it to blend into the neighborhood a little bit, so we decided to not blend it into the neighborhood. We're actually going to try to self-contain this a little bit more because it's a very modern style design, and while the rest of the houses here are not typically very modern in the landscape. So the landscape kind of needs to mirror the style of the house. And so what we kind of did here is that we have like a interesting situation behind us with lots of aspen and lots of ivy, which have a tendency to be a little bit invasive in nature and can create some maintenance problems for the neighbor, which is the house that we designed. So what we kind of decided to do here is kind of like So in kind of continuing the theme of just like with a lot of monotony and foliage color and texture, in this area here, our neighbor actually did a little bit of our landscaping for us. They actually planted some Franz Fontaine hornbeams through here, and they have a very nice structure to them. And the hard part on this side of it is that we've got two competing structures here, where we've got a cinder block wall and then a wood fence that's right here that probably needs some staining, and really at this point probably needs to get replaced. So our short-term solution for this is that we just wanted something to get really tall and kind of cover this area within about a season or two, so we just can hide it. So we ended up doing some Miscanthus sinensis Cosmopolitan. This is a great grass if you just need something big, tall, grows fast, and you just need a screen. These things will get about 6 to 7 feet tall, so about a foot taller than me, so it's going to be taller than the fence, and will fill this entire area to where you will not even be able to see the dirt. You wouldn't even know that there's two competing structures through here. We also have an old shed that's right here that's going to get demoed at some point when the pool goes in. So we're going to use that to kind of cover this particular shed, and then it's a really cheap and easy way to just kind of like create a border, and then we can just like tear everything out when we end up putting the pool in here in a couple of years. So it's really kind of a cool, great structure, awesome little plant.